Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. And hello, Sissy. How was your week this week, Sissy?
My week was great. I'm enjoying the cooler weather again this week. You know, today was a little bit of a scorcher, but you know, hey, there's 80s on the horizon. So,
yeah.
How was your week?
It was good. I'm enjoying the cooler mornings. I always try to get out there in the morning time when it's nice and cool, and it's just made for a better start to the day, in my opinion. Definitely. But yeah, I'm on cloud nine. Today I went in and got some cuts for Christ today, and he always does a pretty good job. You know, I just walked in off the street, and he accommodated me, and that's not what every barber can do. That's true. I really appreciate going in there and talking with him and just listening to what he has to say, and he listens to what I have to say, and I get my hair cut out of the deal, and then we go our separate ways.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah.
Good recommendation.
If you're looking for a cut, Sissy.
Yeah.
Cuts for Christ.
I'm not sure that I want to go to him, though, because I'm afraid I might lose all the little bit of hair I have left.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, so let's say this. If you know any young individual or man who's looking for a cut, or if you're looking for I'm going to say it, a man's haircut.
There you go.
You can go to Cuts for Christ and get yourself one.
Well, you know, some women prefer that.
Yeah.
So, you know, who knows these day and age, right?
Hey, you're welcome to cut your hair any way you want to cut your hair.
Maybe I'll go in and get a fade and get some lightning bolts.
You could, or you could get it dyed. I'm waiting for you to get some like sweet, super dyed colors.
I got silver highlights.
That's right.
Al Natural.
That's right. You said people do pay good money for that. That is true.
Right.
That's that distinguished look that people are looking for.
Yeah, but if it gets any thinner, I may have to seriously consider a fade with some lightning bolts to take the focus off the top.
I'm down.
So
I'm down.
Yeah.
Maybe
the lighter it gets, the less thin it will look.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
You're aging like a fine wine. I don't know what you're talking about, Sissy. Aging like a fine wine. Absolutely. So do you got anything local that you got on the mind this week? What do you got for us,
Okay,
Sissy?
so I'm going to try to do these in chronological order. Okay, so we have coming up first on September 15th, Friday night from 6 to 8 p.m., the Kairos Outside of Kansas chapter ministry will have a soup supper and silent dessert auction, which will be by donation at the Newton Christian Church, 210 Southport Drive in Newton. 100% of the proceeds will benefit the ministry support of female family members and loved ones of those currently or previously impacted by incarceration. You know, they're not a brick and mortar ministry. So,
that's right.
You know, they're around the whole state, and there's a group that's fairly centralized in our to Quad County area. So come out, enjoy fun, fellowship, and of course food.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and lots of desserts. I've heard upwards of 25 choices.
Yeah.
So, and you know, yeah.
Speaking of people making a difference, not to interrupt you, Sissy, but in the Saturday, September 2nd paper of the Kansan, right on the front page, Scouts add seating to Themian Park.
Yeah.
Themian Park. And it turns out that 2 Chisholm Middle School students and Girl Scouts, Caitlin Schmidt, Scout Weedle, and Kelsey Wolf, chose this year to pursue the award, and after looking around, found a project they thought would be big enough to earn the accolade and achievable for the trio. Yeah. And it was that they wound up basically finding and filling a need. At Themian Park, there's not really a bunch of seating. People aren't able to sit down. I don't know why that's never been that way, but it was just something that kind of wasn't in existence, I don't think.
Right. Nope, it wasn't.
Yeah, so these young ladies got together and decided they were going to fill a need, and that was one that was, you know, just one of those things. You don't think about it until somebody else thinks about it, and then when they come up with this, it's like, wow, that's actually kind of ingenious. Yeah. You know, so sending a shout out to them. I would say that's a little bit late news, but it's definitely worth a shout out. So if we were going to do a Citizen of the Week this week, I would say these 3 young ladies are for the trio tie. Oh, yeah.
Total rock stars. Yes. Kudos to you,
ladies. Absolutely. Absolutely.
By the way, there is a checkerboard that is painted on the cement table in the stool and table area. So if you're got a hankering for some outside checker playing,
some chess playing,
there you go, or chess, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one I have is September 23rd, Saturday, the United Way with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Kansas. Our local chapter, I believe, is going to be involved in that to put on the 17th annual chili cook-off. I read on the Facebook that there's a need for advanced tickets. Now, I believe the last time I've been, and of course it's been a coon's age ago, but I believe we bought a bowl and spoon, and that was our admission. Now, this may be a little different. So that's going to take place at 6th and Main, downtown Newton. I believe that'll be cordoned off by the city, with the vendors lining the 6th Street area there. Go to harveyunitedway.org for more information, or check out the Facebook pages for both the Harvey County United Way and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Harvey County for more information on that, especially about those tickets. The next one I have.
You said it's been a coon age since you've been there, but I enjoy going there. I just got to stop you. I was listening to what you were saying, and then I started thinking about past experiences, and my mouth started watering, and then I started thinking about all of the different individuals that get together. It's a huge fundraiser. It's highly beneficial to our community. So there's so many different kinds of chili you can have. You can vote for the best chili. I mean, it's quite the interesting little festival that
it is. It is. And there's lots of different ideas and lots of different ways of chili.
Yeah.
I had no idea there was that many varieties of chili. I had never heard of white chili before until I went there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good. I mean, it's definitely worth going to.
Yeah. Lots of good information, lots of different vendors. 20 so far, I think.
Okay.
So, they're building on that. Again, reach out on the Facebook, I believe, or harveyunitedway.org. All right. So the next one I have is there's a new steakhouse coming to the Old Mill Plaza in Newton. That's just south of the Main Street Railroad tracks for those who do not live in Newton and who are not familiar with our great little town. It is going to be called Cadillac Jack Steakhouse at Old Mill Plaza. The open target date, according to their Facebook page, is the beginning of October. So again, follow them, Cadillac Jack's Steakhouse at Old Mill Plaza, for more information.
Thanks, Sissy. You're making me hungry.
I know, right?
I'm thinking, first I was thinking chili.
Yeah.
Oh, nice warm chili.
Right. Cinnamon rolls is what I always think of. Yeah.
I'm there, right?
Right.
And heart, mind, and you know, the whole thing. And then now you're breaking me down that there's a nice, classy steak joint coming to town.
Yeah.
And you can, I've already liked and followed their page. So who's that again? Cadillac Jack's Steakhouse at the Old Mill Plaza.
You got it.
So you heard that. Look them up on Facebook, like and follow them. Always, it's worth supporting businesses that come here. And for a long time, I think a lot of us have thought it'd be really nice to have a steakhouse here in Newton.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to have to save my pennies, too, because of being a steakhouse. It's going to be a little bit on the high end side, which is fine with me.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks classy.
Yeah,
looks like they're moving, and I mean, I've always liked that location. The Old Mill is a nice, classy location. It's historic. I like the history stuff. So
well, and not only that, but those places maybe sometimes will run lunch specials.
Yeah.
So, there's that, salads and, steak on your salad and so on and so forth. Okay.
Well, no matter what you do, you got to check them out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Like, follow, and check them out.
Yeah. On Saturday, the second Saturday in October, on the 14th, the Halstead Brick Street and Craft Festival will take place. Like and follow their Facebook page for more details. There was not a lot, but they do have a Facebook page. Again, that's Halstead Brick Street and Crafts Festival Facebook page. Second Saturday, October 14th.
Yeah, and Halstead,
downtown Halstead.
Everybody knows Halstead's known for throwing big festivals and parties like the Old Settlers Festival.
Yeah, and
surely this will be interesting.
Last but not least on my list for today.
Oh, man. Okay.
On November 11th, that's also a Saturday and Veterans Day, we have a Christmas market. It is the 35th annual at the Newton Recreation Center. I believe that is on the corner of 5th and Poplar here in Newton. That is going to run from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. For more information, you may call 316-283-7330 or, of course, like and follow their Facebook page for updates.
Yeah. Did you see the new library logo, Sissy?
I did. What do you think about that?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's very bright and shiny and happy.
Yeah, it's good. When I saw it, it made me feel good inside.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some meaning behind it. I have not stumbled across that yet. I don't know if it's because I just didn't read it that way or what the thing is, but I think it's really important with what they're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, this library is really coming along. I don't know if you've driven over there lately, but I mean, it's, you know, they're not too much farther from putting some windows in and starting to work on the inside. And that is just becoming more and more a reality every day. Yeah. And just knowing that there's that front end vision to even rebrand, you know, the new library, well, with maybe a different vision, different outlook. I'm sure it's similar, but I know that they're going to have some really cool added bonuses there. Yeah. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. I know, you know, you see pictures and stuff and it comes up and you know what the drafting looks like and all that. But when you can just look at it and see what's finally been accomplished and how many years it took to get it accomplished and all the hands that were involved in making that happen. And, you know, it's a huge plus for our community. Yeah, definitely. It's just a huge plus for our community. Yeah.
Well, and off the street parking, that's going to be so wonderful.
Yeah, they didn't even have any parking before, really. I mean, yeah, now we have parking. And so then the idea is that this can be a space where more people utilize it over time. You know, the convenience is key in a lot of ways. And you know, even though libraries, and I've said it in the past, how many people go to libraries today? And I would say that their population is declining, but that might also have to do just with the traditional library. If libraries become more technologically advanced and have different programs and stuff that are there to be able to, I don't know, reach out to more people than just somebody that might want to go check out a magazine or a book, and then are able to promote that for the benefit of everybody. I mean, they have all kinds of stuff there. They have so much stuff I can't even keep up on top of it. I mean, there's stuff for kids. There's things for people that need, you know, help with A, B, C, or D. They set different times. I mean, they really are and always have been a public service-oriented organization. Yeah. Way above and beyond. One of these days, I'm going to have one of them out here because I really want to talk to them. I was very impressed with what they chose to do during the COVID pandemic. When that was happening and there was a knowledge that this is not going to be able to be utilized for the same things and ways that people were able to benefit from before, that we have to change this somehow. And they just did. You know, they did, and they continue to try to service the need of them of what children would benefit from the library. Right. Well, you know, big shout out to them. You know, I wish they'd bring back the Dewey Decimal System and teach children how to do that. But you know what? They have a computer to do that. Yeah. So you know that's past now. Oh, we're almost gonna move us on into the bigger news. Yeah, you know what? That could be a full topic for the rest of our program, Sissy. Is you know, it seems as though as technology speeds away from us, and that's really what's happening now. I think we're having a technological revolution of sorts that we can't even wrap our heads around at this point in time, and then think 10 years beyond that, right? If people are reluctant to embrace technology and utilize it for the tool that it can be used for, such as, let's just say, the Dewey Decimal System. Yeah, it's important that we have, you know, the understanding of the Dewey Decimal System, right, in the library and how this all works and everything, okay? Right. But if we progress to a point in time where we have technology that will allow someone to speak to typewriter, or like I'm a big audiobook person, you know, there's things that we can embrace in technology, and you ask the question, if technology allows for students to just speak and all of that is written down through AI doing it from your speech to your text, let's say, as sometimes anybody that knows they try to use gets awful confused with words. So, right. You know, that little watch doesn't always work the way it's supposed to, and sometimes says some flyer things, you know. But I've seen a growing reluctance to employ technology as a tool in which can benefit us. So once again, if we're spending a lot of time teaching students how to type on a typewriter or type on a computer, and technology has aided our students to the point now where it's just speech to text, then are we holding ourselves hostage by an obsolete technology, Sissy?
Well, I don't know. If in the event, I guess this is where my mind goes, is let's not do away with all the so-called antiquated technologies like typewriters and things like that, because and handwriting, I mean, that is absolutely atrocious this day and age.
Yeah.
Because
Cursive,
if in the event that we're ever in a position where our electricity goes off, or like from an EMP, or some unthinkably drastic
solar flare,
thing,
nuclear fallout,
right? Or the internet is taken down for whatever reason, or goes down for whatever reason. We need to be able to have these skills, kind of like checking your oil, or knowing how to check your tire pressure. Yes, you can drive in and have someone do that, or call up your neighbor or your family member, your guy family member, right? But it's different when there is that independence, where you have that skill in your back pocket or your life toolbox, as I often say, because you just never know when you're going to have to resort back to that manual type of lifestyle, right?
Are you a doomsday prepper, Sissy?
Well, no, I'm not a prepper. Otherwise, I'd have a whole room full of consumables.
Mental
right?
preparation is the first key to prepping.
I think we have to be realistic this day and age. I mean, we've got a lot of unknowns happening a lot of the time now, right? So I advocate for knowing how to use a typewriter, knowing how to use a pen and paper. I mean, how many youngsters today know how to write a letter and address a stamp, or address an envelope and put a stamp on it? I mean, really, how many?
I mean, I'm sure at some stage in the game you're
right.
probably taught that, but then you take application to education, and like anybody knows, if you have a certain type of education, or let's just say we'll go back to the oil change. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew how to just change an oil before they were taught,
sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
right.
Even if it's down to buy a book, self-taught. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't know, and then you learned how to do it.
Right.
If you only do it once, and then 10 years passes by before you do it again, you might be a little, maybe an oil change is not the greatest example to use, but it's just employing the same mentality of, you can have an education. If you don't employ or apply your education, well, then it's quickly forgotten.
Well, for instance, how many people are teaching the youngsters and, even the older adults in their world how to cook from scratch, right?
Well,
and the TikTok has a lot of great cooking videos. A lot of channels or pages or whatever that do lots of cooking videos. But, I have to say, a lot of those are, edited videos, and the recipes don't turn out the way that they portray that they will. But my all-time favorite are the cooking tutorial videos on the TikTok, where the folks are actually using Dawn soap to wash their chicken in the sink before they cook it. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, that just seems a little over the top to use Dawn dish soap on the chicken before you put it in the pan to cook it.
It cuts grease and it kills bacteria.
Well, there you go. But see, if somebody does that and they don't get all that soap washed off, or maybe the chicken's just done for as soon as the soap touches it, they can get really, really sick.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
So,
have you ever bathed the chicken in Dawn and cooked it and eaten it and gotten sick, Sissy?
I just, the thought never occurred to me to use dish soap on my chicken. So, just like the gas soaked Takis from last episode, right, using as a fire fuel, don't wash your chicken with Dawn soap, folks.
Well, and this leads me to this never ending question I've always had is, can soap be dirty?
Well,
it's like one of those rhetorical
things. It's a contaminant. I wouldn't say it's dirty, but
could it be if you use soap to clean your hands, and then that's what cleans your hands is the soap,
right?
Then how can soap be dirty?
Well, it's a contaminant. You're not supposed to ingest the soap.
Okay.
Right. Don't lick your suds off your fingers. That's just kind of disgusting. But anyway,
who doesn't do that?
To my point, youngsters rely on things like TikTok. I mean, you probably heard the teenage boy that passed away after the spicy chip challenge, and the chip company is finally pulling that from the market.
Oh.
But I've heard of that a couple of times. So the TikTok videos are teaching the kids how to cook. I would say we need to rely on, those human beings that have been cooking for many years to then carry on, pass that torch and teach the youngsters to cook properly.
Well, in truth,
that's a skill people take for granted.
It is. In truth, well, I mean, we're kind of getting into the weeds. But
and cooking on an open fire would be even better. Right?
Okay, so you're taking it back to like 1880s.
Well, you never know. Never know. They want to ban gas stoves. What's next?
See, you'd be useful in a doomsday scenario, Sissy, because you can cook.
That's right.
You could even cook on an open fire.
I'm self-sufficient.
I know you can.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. The only thing I need is help to procure the prey for my hunter-gatherer mode that I get into when I'm thinking about cooking on an open fire. Right. I can do everything else. I just want someone else to do
That's a 50-50 split.
I'll feed you if you procure the food.
There you go. Right, you're going straight back to like naturalistic instincts, Sissy.
Yeah. Well,
homing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So speaking of
old
timey things and traditions, right, for a rainy day. So the city of Sedgwick, I watched their council meeting last evening. And they did a proclamation by the mayor for Constitution Week that's coming up from September 17th through the 23rd. They will observe that, and I thought, wow, every place needs to be doing a special focus on the Constitution during Constitution Week.
Yes.
Constitution Day is September 17th. It was signed in 1787 and then, of course, ratified in 1791. And, we have laws on the books in our U.S. Code that designate Constitution and Citizenship Day as September 17th every year. And also for the Constitution Week designated. So that was from 1952 and 1956 respectively. So what do you think? Should more places be doing this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think it should be something that's just second nature at any educational facility. I think that they should take the time to make sure that everybody knows this. I mean, there's so many things that we know when is, right? I mean, when's Christmas, Sissy? When's Halloween? I mean, we know when these like holidays are, right? This is a holiday.
Right.
I mean, it really is. When you think about what was brought into being that had never been before and was an experiment of epic proportion. I mean, it's really what it was. When you're all said and done, America was able to establish, or those that established America were able to do so with the intent that a free people could govern themselves.
That's right.
And we are so far off base when it comes to that now, Sissy. Okay. So I got one. I'm thinking on my feet while you were talking.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Did you see the interview with Mike Fellows speaking of Constitution?
I did. Okay. I'm so excited about
What
that.
a rock star.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people, if you're listening to this and you had not listened to the Harvey County Talk with Mike Fellows, the individual who's really active and participatory in civics anyway has now gone above and beyond, really above and beyond, to make sure that there is a mechanism in which there's a benefit for youth, seniors in USD 373 only at this point in time to be interested in it.
Right.
Sometimes a little compensation makes somebody a little more interested in it, right? But it's all about the study of it. It's about the interest of it. It's about the perspective. It's good for all students to do this. I personally believe.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, but I don't know. It seemed to be they were a little more friendly to teaching the Constitution when I was a kid. I check in with my youngsters sometimes about things that are taught in school, and it doesn't seem as though maybe they dwell on that for a whole lot of time. And it's questionable whether or not that should be more. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm to say that it should be more.
Yeah.
I've
had a mixed bag of reactions when I pull out my own copy of the Constitution that I carry with me everywhere I go. Of course, right now I don't have it today.
Oh goodness,
not it's at home in my day bag.
See, that's that ever, never, always, and forever thing.
So, but my point is that I know what it says, but I don't know verbatim what it says. So sometimes I have to refer, even me, and I researched the Constitution. I mean, it's like a lifelong thing for me. Excuse me. But I advocate for everyone having their own copy, right? Even if you never use it, or have it on your wall in your home where it's a centralized location and anyone in your family could just walk up and read it.
But see, I would even go back to this, the desire. I almost still try to, I still try to figure out why there's such a lack of desire, empathy, whatever you call it, for people to want to be educated about our government, especially when they can play such a major part in it. And once again, it takes me back to the deal where, I don't feel like our government is appropriately representing us at this point in time, any of us really, no matter what party affiliation you are, and haven't for a long time. So when you're looking at it through that lens, it starts to make you wonder, well,
right.
Well,
and weren't you talking about something that was going on in the National Congress earlier today?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to oust anybody or anything like that, but I'll just say I'm an avid reader, and I was reading some opinions, and one opinion came from an elected official. Okay. And this opinion was referencing, why we're having all these problems. Obviously, the current state and condition is worse than what it was before. And then started to tie Biden into that, obviously. Bidenomics, that's one of the first few times I've heard this. I don't jump on gravy trains like that too much. But I just read the whole thing, and then I read it again, and then I kind of processed it through. And I thought, you know what? This is not necessarily dishonest in and of itself. But to me, it seems like it was the standard, the epitome of the standard Washington, D.C. elected official that is going to blame it on everybody other than themselves, except for why they can't get it done. It's the booga booga booga, it's the Republicans, booga booga booga, it's the Democrats, it's the president, and the truth of the matter is it's nefarious for individuals, even a president themselves, to take responsibility for an economy being good or take the heat for the economy being bad. And we've gotten into this illusion somehow or another that they're the ones that pass laws. Presidents don't pass laws.
True.
If your situation is the way it is, it's because Congress, 9 times out of 10, you have, the president that has his initiatives and he was elected and we want to do this, that, or the other, right? We want to close the border down, one of them say, or we need to do this. That's their policy, or we need to do this. But you should probably just look at what happened with Trump and his policies and everything that he wanted to get accomplished as it's just slowly unraveling. It was like maybe if we wanted to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, we could say that things were better under Trump. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm misremembering anything, but I think one of the reasons we've gotten into this inflation and spiraling out of control is because of the government response to the COVID pandemic.
Well, I think it definitely it did not help.
Okay, so then we need a lot of money printed, and we need to flatline our economy, which I don't know what anybody, news to anybody, but that's what's ultimately caused the kind of inflation that we're seeing. And that's I call it dumbonomics, because that may not be entirely correct, but on the face, that's a relatively true statement without getting into the weeds.
Sure.
So to say that, Biden is all the reason to blame for our economy is not really true necessarily.
Right.
When it all comes down to it, Congress is the ones that make the laws. And so it might be that this majority is here, that majority is there, whatever. But we're getting to a place where it's just so easy for elected representatives and congressmen at all levels to say, well, it's not me that's poor performing. I will come here and tell you what I want to do, which is what you want me to do, because I'm going to tell you, well, I want to do what you want me to do. That's how I get elected, right? That's just on the basics, on the face of it. So then when it comes time for you not to be able to do what those people want you to do, well, it was never my responsibility. It's not because I did a bad job. It's not because I wasn't affected. It's not because I wasn't able to work with people across the aisle. It's, you know, your life is the same because you elected me. I went to Congress and I was ineffective to do anything for you. That's the short and skinny of it.
Right.
Anything else is just a blame game.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, it's just a blame game, Sissy. And I don't mean to go too deep on too much politics or anything, but it just kind of got under my skin because, you know, I'm tired of hearing this from both sides.
Right.
Oh, it's the booga, 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 booga. Or things are going to be way better under this circumstance or that circumstance. I mean, I have all kinds of pipe dreams that I will sell you. Just give me your money.
Right, right.
You know, support me. I mean, and maybe that's why I'm not an effective politician, is because I don't have any pipe dreams to sell.
Yeah, I don't
Honesty is just brutal sometimes, I guess. It makes people hate you. It makes some people like you, but most people can't swallow that pill very easily.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, there is an element of the society in this country that absolutely hates anything political, and every politician wants to slit your throat financially, and you know, they did it to themselves.
Yeah,
in a lot
there's
of ways,
that third person perspective,
right?
because that's all going there like all of this is bad for me. I mean, we could take this back to the bully conversation, Sissy.
Right, but it doesn't have to stop there, right? Folks that are more educated, more informed on the processes and how they're supposed to work, they can steer clear of those pipe dream salesmen or salespeople, right? Because, you know, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got one running in the GOP right now that's a pipe dream seller, right? And so I won't go there. But speaking of pipe dreams, okay, so, well, I want to hold on that. I want to hold on that.
That must be good, juicy stuff.
Before I go, I'm not going to jump all the way there.
Okay, so can I derail us for a second? And speaking of derailing, it is a play on words, obviously, and I want to go back to this Newton thing, okay?
Okay.
And the railer way. This is still a conversation that many people in the community are having. I'm hearing a lot about the railer way, and it's probably because election times are coming, okay? So that's been divisive issue of sorts. But I want to speak to something that I hear keep coming up over and over and over again, and it's just, I want people to think about this for a minute, all right? When we start classifying what someone is doing to someone else, such as bullying in our society, when we use the term bullying, speaking of the railer way and all of this, and evidence being procured that you were breaking the rules, i.e. maybe they would be laws, right? I mean, so I'm trying to understand how it is that an individual who committed an offense is guilty of that offense, but because evidence was provided that found them guilty, I mean, you know, for all intents and purposes,
proved their culpability.
Right. Because of course they're not on trial.
Right.
But in public opinion, we're always on trial. Ask me, I'll tell you.
Right.
So I'm trying to understand with this train of thought, right? Let's look outside the box here and say, you know, maybe this young athlete was bullied, okay? But how was it bullied? Okay, so what do we mean bullied? Well, because somebody brought up evidence that you were doing something wrong, that's bullying. So by that same token of thought, And you all know, I mean, I just had an interview with Deputy Hinton from the Harvey County Sheriff's Department. I've interviewed Sheriff Chad Gay, so I'm going to say this with a disclaimer. I'm pro law enforcement, so I'm being facetious in what I'm saying. But with that same rational thought, then are police officers just bullies? I mean, you know, you go commit a crime, and it might take them a while to find out. Hell, they might not even known you committed the crime until 6 months later when some video evidence surfaces. And then when that happens, then because they want to pursue the consequences, which is well within their right? There's that action that then goes into play. We don't just say, oh, well, because it was 6 months ago, or because that came from, you know, Gary, or that came from Larry or Harry. That we, you know, it must be, you know, when is the police officer going to turn around and be like, Gary, Harry, and Larry, why would you wait 6 months to give us this evidence of this person committing this crime? Right. You must be a bully, so we're not going to do anything about it. Right. You're just trying to bully this guy, you know, because, I mean, it happened 6 months ago. Why didn't you come with, why have all of a sudden is the person, for whatever the reason they did, that brought up the evidence that this person was doing what they were doing, whoever that is, fill in the blank, justice as it is, rule of law as it is, that then they're bullies because you're having to suffer the consequences of your actions. They are the entity or the mode in which that came to justice. They might have been in the car of justice riding down there to help you get your piece of justice. But I'm really trying to figure out this whole bullying thing. You know, I don't think anybody's a victim here. And I think that they just need to all accept responsibility for their actions. And on this note, I'm going to say it. I know people are listening. I know this has been a conversation repeatedly, but nobody's a victim here. People made choices. They were not the good choices that they should have made. And it just led to more choices that had to be made by other individuals that were not good choices. So at what point in time are we as a community going to stand up and say we're just not willing to do that? We're not going to operate like that. Right.
Well, I think it's really important to listen, to look at the messaging that comes from this situation, right? We've said this before. This is not new information if you've been following the show. Our personal conversations as well as our public conversations have really not been much different. You know, these are children that we're dealing with that are the subjects of discussion, and the adults then the decision makers. And I think that it's really important that that everybody goes back to what's the root message in this saga, right? Because that's exactly what it is. It's turned into this long drawn out thing now.
Opened a can of worms, as we might say.
Right. So given that, I am absolutely optimistic and hopeful that our school board has discussed this in detail and are looking at the ultimate messaging from start to finish, and finish being what they come to on their final vote of what they're going to do. And I'm hoping that's going to be the 11th, whether the next meeting, because I think that was tabled last time. So some decision has to be made. And if it's not the decision that parents and school staff and all that stuff, or whoever wants to have been made, there are ways to appeal that, right? Yeah. And so then the school board then will have to explain, and so on and so forth. But going back to this bullying thing, now I'm assuming you mean cyberbullying. The claim that was made about the video being released after the fact.
Yes, okay. but the stories that I'm hearing this from is not including cyberbullying. I mean, they're fifth, sixth hand knowledge of the events. Oh. And so then it's just that this person was bullied. Oh. And it's not fair.
Well, let's stick with the context of what happened at the time, right? Because, you know, there was a public forum. I believe a parent of this young man, this wrestler, featured on the video breaking the law and breaking the school rules, as well as violating the Railer Way. He was he claimed that his child was cyber bullied, right? Because the people that turned that evidence over, I believe, did that via the internet or released it to the social media, and that's how the school officials became aware of it or whatever. Long story short is I think that accountability was denied in the initial thing. And if we're going to focus on the cyberbullying or the bullying, then the accountability is never going to be put forth for the student that violated Kansas law as well as school policy and the railway policy. Right. The video release and how that came to light really doesn't play to application of accountability.
Two different things.
Right. And they were well within their First Amendment right to do that. Right. So, and I'll go a step further and say they were probably looking at the railway going, hey, this probably should be known to somebody to adhere to the railway as it was stated at that time. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but I agree with you.
Never know. Maybe they got a conscience.
Well, you know.
Maybe the person got a conscience and was like, hey.
Right. Well, speaking of conscience, can we segue to another topic?
Absolutely.
Okay. Consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of what we're talking about.
Oh, we're going to go deep, aren't we, Sissy?
Intention, right? Mm-hmm. Intentional behavior, actions. Okay, so the Weizmann Institute in, I believe, Europe has created a 14-week-old human embryo model without using sperm, egg, or a womb. They have used stem cells, and they have inserted different types of chemicals to see if they could spark cell division synthetically. And they have succeeded. So their quote is, "This resembles a 14-week-old human embryo," end quote. So what do you think about that?
Mind-blowing.
So will that, if that is allowed to grow to a full term, what do you call that?
Human being.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
Yeah. Will there be consciousness?
Absolutely.
There's definitely intention.
I believe there would be consciousness.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I do believe that. I mean, we're gonna go deep on this one. Okay. We're just gonna do it, Sissy.
Okay.
I believe that we as mankind currently are able to do everything that, well, we once believed God was the author of.
Not everything.
Create life, artificial insemination. No, you need of the father or procreation to or intercourse to be able to have insemination and then a baby. I mean, we can keep going if you want.
Yeah. Well, I immediately thought of cloning, right?
Cloning. I mean, but see, that's kind of different. Now we're just growing people straight up just to grow them. Like, well, I mean, I get the whole process of cloning because technically, I mean, in the weeds and science and all this, it's all relative. But at the same time, we're literally like growing individuals without the need. I mean, we're creating the spark of life synthetically, like you stated. Well, it's no longer does it require two individuals to become one, to be able to procreate. We have a situation where man can completely supersede that. And we can play God by choosing eye color, choosing hair color, choosing pigmentation color. We can do all of these things. And just think about this. If we know right now that these are all the things they can do, then imagine what they can really do.
Well, you know, they never release anything to anyone, to the press or publish anything that they are not already doing. Right. And I say they.
Yeah. You know, the infamous they. Yeah, right?
Whoever
uneducated you. Who is the they that you're talking about? You must cite that system.
Right.
You know, our educational lives that we have.
But
there is no they.
What about the idea of being able to create these embryos that very well could be implanted into an artificial womb, and the human being grows to the viability, is removed from that, and then cared for like a live human because, well, I guess in effect it will be.
But who would care for that baby?
Right.
If we call it a baby.
But
we may just, interpret it as something different.
Right. So, in this country, we are wrapped with this abortion debate, right? And I say debate because it is just an all-out fight most of the time when you get into this conversation. And you don't have to go too far to find someone that it's absolutely opposite of your own idea about it. Okay. So think about that and the whole time frame and the fact that the pro people call it a clump of cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the anti people call it a human baby, mm-hmm. right? So where does this artificial gestation possibility, where do you think that comes into play? Right smack in the middle of this pro and anti-abortion argument. What do you think?
Once again, I go back to, it goes way deeper than that. The fact that we can do anything that people have attributed
right.
from an omnipotent being able to do. I mean, it turns everything on its head. I really think it does. I think that's not an understatement at all, because it gets into some real, interesting waters.
I think this is absolute blasphemy.
Well, according
to what I believe,
it's blowing my mind. Because when you think about it, you just threw this on me. There are so many different ways to look at that, and I'm not seeing any ones that equal good. I'm not seeing how. There's all kinds of questions. Who's responsible for this child? Do they have the same rights? Do they have the same everything? Well, you know what happens if they're a defect?
Yeah.
Do we just throw them out?
Right.
We just toss them in the dumpster because there's nobody that's responsible for that?
There's ethical questions about them creating this single 14-week-old human embryo. What they are, will they be ending the life cycle of this? And is that considered a termination?
Not by their government, I'm sure.
I don't know.
I don't think they have those,
there's huge questions of ethics. Forget religion, right? I said what I said, but that's my opinion.
In a lot of ways, laws are based off of religious conscience.
Well, to a point. Yeah.
Well, so like when we talk about the pro-life, pro-choice movement, that's all many, many, many times an argument that's made has to do with where inception begins, life begins, creation begins, who created what, how they created it.
Right.
And now that men are just doing it, or women, or the lovely individuals, scientists that are obviously horribly intelligent are now growing human life.
Yeah, and this, at 14 weeks old, this embryo has human organs that are developing already.
What are you going to do with that thing?
Right.
I hate to call it a thing, but what are you going to do? What's the end result here?
They're calling it a model. So like a die-cast car model.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so speaking of consciousness on a different level, so there's an update to the Marion County record raid.
Oh.
Right.
Enlighten me.
And this is the last thing I have. So we don't spend a whole lot of time. I'm not sure where we're at today. The Kansas Commission on Judicial Conduct has taken up a complaint against Judge Laura Villar, the Marion County magistrate judge who signed off on the search warrant for the Marion County record raid and the seizure of all of their computing equipment and files and things like that. The hearing will be in November, and quite interestingly, I assume that the filing complainant would be someone local. They're actually out of Topeka. So not sure who that is or what is happening there, but someone has made a complaint and they are going to hear it. Now, of course, that is a confidential process because of constitutional rights of the judge. And she cannot say what is happening until such time as the procedure or investigation or whatever they're doing is concluded, at which time then she can either divulge or not, but it will become public record once they have made their decision after their hearing in November. So there is a civil suit also going on. Marion County Record people have filed against the police department, police chief, maybe even the county attorney. I'm not exactly sure on all that, but there is a lot of layers.
So it's still just going full throttle. Oh, yeah. Nothing has slowed down, just more has compounded upon what's already been compounded.
Right, more, yeah. So it'll be interesting. Yeah.
Well, we oftentimes, talk back and forth about kind of what the show is. I mean, we talk about local things, we talk about national things, we talk about state things. Sometimes we get into the weeds, we get heavy, sometimes we're light. Okay. But for everybody that's listening, I think it's important that we realize that the reason why we sit here and have this conversation is because it's all relative. What's happening in Washington does affect you. I with no doubt, people participating in the civic process helps you. I don't know how, much more simple you can put that. You as you progress in government at the different layers, going from your local elected officials like school board or city commission, those are the races and the people that you have the most influence over. They're your neighbors. They make a lot of decisions about local issues that affect you greatly. I mean, greatly when we talk about taxes, okay? Because those are taxing entities. But as you go up in these levels from state legislator to state senator to representative to U.S. senator, they just become more and more out of touch from you, from your doorstep. They do. But to realize that there's also implications when we talk about things like what's going on in Germany, right? I mean, what are they doing? To think that what they are doing there does not have a consequence for you at your doorstep, well, that's just being naive. To assume that you have much of anything that you can do about that situation is equally as naive. But to do nothing, well, to do nothing is just to seal your own fate.
Right. And that prevents us from having nice things.
It does.
Right? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, Sissy. All right. So we're coming to the end of the program, folks. Sissy, what words of wisdom do you have for everybody this week?
For everybody, not just you.
Well, all of the people that are listening and watching our program right now, speak directly to the hearts and the minds and the lives of those watching
and listening. Okay.
Right now.
So, folks, I can't stress enough, you should go and get yourself a copy of the Constitution. Most always they are $1.25, Amazon. You can buy them in bulk, hand them out to your friends and family, whoever you think might benefit from one. And as a plus, the majority of time, they always have the Declaration of Independence in there as well as resources, links to other articles, to authors, things like that. So please, please, I implore you to get your own copy of the U.S. Constitution and keep it with you at all times. Know it, reference it, and do it often. There you go.
And I can expound on that. I'll say, get involved, people. Get involved. If it's not in the, policy and political world where you want to be a participatory voter or educate yourself, like Sissy's saying, on the Constitution, I don't know who wouldn't, but if that's not your cup of tea, go volunteer somewhere.
Yeah.
Go do something that makes your community a better place to live. Because ultimately, if you're making your community a better place to live, you're just helping yourself have a better future.
Right. And one last tidbit. The Kansas Constitution also, you should have, you might have to print that on 8.5 by 11 and keep that in a folder at your house. But I also implore you to be familiar with your own state's constitution.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Thanks, Sissy.
Yeah.
Well, folks, there you have it. And thanks for listening to this episode of Harvey County Talk. I was your host, Lance Gormley.
And I was your co-host, Sissy.
We'll catch you next week, everybody.